The abandoned bride at the station had been sitting on her trunk in the hard noon sun for an hour and 20 minutes when the rancher came up the platform with a freight slip in his hand and stopped at the edge of her trunk because she was sitting in the middle of the boards he had been told to load. She did not look up. "You are in the way of my freight, ma'am. I know it. You will not move." The hot platform smelled of creosote and dust. The whistle of the train she had come down on had been gone for over an hour. The station master had gone back inside to his ledger. She had her gloved hands folded in her lap on the worn carpet bag at her knees, and her two small steamer trunks stacked against the platform post behind her. The larger one labeled in careful black ink with a name and a date and an address she had not been able to read aloud yet, without something doing in her throat. The rancher took his hat off. He did not crowd her. Before we continue, if stories like this mean something to you, hit subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love seeing how far these stories travel. "I will move when I have somewhere to move to," she said. She looked up at him then, for the first time. She had pale eyes and a sun-darkened jaw set hard, and her dark hair pinned back simply under a small brown traveling hat, and a faded blue traveling dress that had been her best one when she had put it on 3 days before in a kitchen in St. Louis, and a cream-colored shawl folded over her shoulders that the dust of the train had grayed at the edges. She was 26, and she had a name written in the careful black ink on her trunk, and the rancher was looking at the name without looking like he was looking at it. Beatrice Vale. He read off it in his own voice. "That is me. You were on the 1140. I was. You were waiting for a man. I was." He looked at the lane that ran past the station, the dusty, pale-tan road that went out west into the bleached pale-tan flats with their dry sage and chamisa, and then he looked back at her on her trunks. He turned the hat once in his hands. He was a tall, lean man of about 34, broad in the shoulder, sun-darkened to the line where his collar sat, a faded blue chambray shirt with sleeves rolled past the elbow, dark trousers worn at the knee, scuffed brown leather work boots dusty along the toe, the freight slip folded in his hand. He had a steady gray eye, and he held a look without making anything of it. "The man you were waiting for," he said, "was he named Crispin Halloran?" She did not let her face do anything. "He was. He has not come. He has not." The rancher folded the freight slip into the band of his hat. He set the hat on the platform post above her trunks. He did not sit down. He stood beside her on the platform with his hands in his pockets and his eyes on the road. "Halloran left town 5 weeks ago," he said. "He did not tell anyone where he was going. He took a wagon from the livery. He owed money to the freight house and the dry goods. The freight house has had the wagon back. The dry goods has had a letter. Nobody in this town has had a letter that gives any account of him beyond that." Beatrice Vale's hands did not move on the carpet bag. "I did not know. I know you did not. You have come down the line on the 1140 with 2 trunks and a carpet bag and a shawl that was new last year. A woman does not come down the line that way to a man she has been written off by." She looked at her hands. "I have come down on $12 and 3 letters and a steamer ticket I bought in St. Louis. I have come 130 miles since dawn. I do not have $12 in my bag anymore. I have 4. I have nowhere I have come to except the address that is on the trunk, and the address on the trunk is, by what you have just told me, an address that does not have a man at it." She was speaking plain. She had not let her voice do anything either. The rancher took the hat off the post. "My name is Asa Corn," he said. "I have the section 8 miles down the west road. I came in for freight today. I am not married. I am not asking you to be. I'm asking what you would have me do here, on this platform, in the next half hour, before the station master comes back out and asks you to move your trunks off his boards." She looked at him. "What would you have me do?" she said. He thought about it. He set the hat back on his head. He did not look at her when he said it. "Can you stay?" he said. "Stay where? In this country. In this county. Not at my section unless you want to. At the boarding house in town until you have decided. The boarding house is run by Mrs. Pell. She is a fair woman. She charges $1.20 the week for a room and supper. I will pay the first month. You will not owe me for it. If you wish to stay past the first month and have not found work, I have a section with a kitchen on it and no woman to keep it, and I would pay you what a hand earns in this country for keeping the kitchen and the laundry through the harvest, and you would have the back room and the supper at the same table I take supper at. Past the harvest we will see. If, at any point in the first month or the harvest you wish to take the train east again, I will pay your fare. I am asking what you can do, and I'm asking it in plain terms because the alternative for you this afternoon, by what I can see, is the boards of this platform." He stopped. "I'm sorry to put it that way." The hot platform was quiet. The whistle of the train was an hour and 20 minutes gone. The cottonwoods at the far end of the platform shifted in the smallest breath of dry afternoon air. Beatrice Vale looked at her hands in her lap on the carpet bag and did not let her hands fidget, because she had trained that out of herself in her grandmother's kitchen a long time before, when she had understood that stillness reads as competence whether or not you feel it. "I can stay," she said. That was the answer. Asa Korn nodded once. He did not look at her face yet. He bent at the knee and took the smaller of the two steamer trunks up by its strap and set it under his arm. He took the carpet bag. He did not take the larger trunk yet. "The wagon is at the freight house," he said. "It is half a block. I will come back for the larger trunk. You will walk with me to Mrs. Pell's. You will leave the trunk on the platform a quarter hour. The station master will not bother it. He is a fair man. What is his name? Harlan Reeve. He will tip his hat to you when you come back." She stood up. The platform did not move under her, which surprised her, because she had been sitting on the trunk an hour and 20 minutes, and the platform should have moved. She took the shawl up off her shoulders and folded it once over her arm. She picked up her gloves from her lap, and she set them in her sleeve. She did not look at the name on the larger trunk. She walked with Asa Korn down the platform and down the 2 steps to the road and along the half-block to the boarding house at the south end of Mrs. Pell's lane, and she did not let her face do anything for any of it. And Asa Korn did not say a word the whole way, except to tip his hat at the woman who came out of the dry goods door, who was the postmistress, who took one long look at Beatrice Vale and then at Asa Korn and then at the trunks and did not say a word back. That was the first quarter hour. Mrs. Eola Pell was a woman of about 52, a widow of a railroad foreman who had been a fair foreman and had left her the boarding house and a small comfortable pension. She ran 4 rooms upstairs and a back room off the kitchen, which she gave to women who came alone. She opened the door before Asa Korn had finished knocking, because she had heard the wagon at the freight house and had heard the boards on the platform, and she knew, in the way of women in small towns, what was coming up her lane. "Mrs. Pell," Asa Korn said, "this is Miss Vale. She has come down on the 11:40. Iola Pell looked at Beatrice. She held her look a long moment. "You came for Crispin Halloran?" "I did." Iola nodded once. I had wondered if anyone would. He had a way of writing letters that suggested a person at the other end. I am sorry to be the one to tell you, child. Mr. Corn has told me. Mr. Corn has saved me a duty I did not look forward to." She turned to Asa. "The back room is open. $1.20 the week with supper. I'm holding it for her if she wants it." "I am paying her first month," Asa said. Yola Pell looked at him. She did not smile. "You are. I am. Then it is $1.20 the week, and we will not speak of it again until the first month is out." Yola Pell stepped back from the door. "Come in, child. You will have a cup of tea. Mr. Corn will go to the platform for the rest of your things. I will have the back room ready by supper." The back room was small and clean and had a narrow iron-framed bed with a clean cream-wool blanket folded at the foot, a small wooden chest under the window for a trunk, a single wooden chair, a tin water pitcher and basin on the chest, and a wall peg by the door. Beatrice Vale set the carpet bag on the floor at the foot of the bed and did not unpack it yet. She went to the kitchen and sat at the long wooden table in the chair Yola Pell pointed her to, which was on the side of the table away from the kitchen door. And Iola Pell poured her a cup of tea and set a plate of bread and butter in front of her, and Beatrice Vale picked up the bread with her sun-darkened hand, and did not finish it in 3 bites, and did not crowd the bread, because she had been raised somewhere to butter bread carefully. When Asa Corn came back with the larger trunk, he did not knock. He came in through the back kitchen door, set the trunk down inside the back room, and came out into the kitchen. Iola Pell handed him a cup of tea without being asked. He drank it, standing up at the kitchen block. "You will come on Tuesday at the harvest," he said. "I will not, Mr. Corn." He did not move. He set the cup down. He looked at Iola. Iola Pell set the kettle on the back ring. "She is not coming to your section the first week, Asa. She will sit at this kitchen on Monday and Tuesday, and on the rest of this week, and she will sit at the chapel on Sunday morning, and she will be looked at by the women of this town across the pew, and they will get done their looking by Thursday of next week, which is the day she will come to your section in my buggy with her trunks on the seat behind her, and they will have nothing to say afterward that they have not said by Thursday. That is the way to do this." Asa Corn did not argue. He picked his cup back up. Thursday next. Thursday next. He looked at Beatrice. He had not looked at her in the kitchen yet. "That suits you. That suits me." Iola Pell nodded once. The kettle ticked. That was the first day. By the end of the week, the women of the town had looked. Mrs. Lavinia Brace, 58, and the widow of the previous Methodist preacher, had come to Yola Pell's kitchen on Friday at noon, with a basket and her smile in place, and had said her piece about a young woman of 26 coming down on the 1140 for a man who had run, and being kept at the boarding house at another man's coin, and being installed by Thursday in that man's back room with no marriage between her and him. Iola Pell had heard Lavinia Brace out at the kitchen table and had set down her own cup and had said only one thing. "Lavinia, you have been at my kitchen at noon on Fridays for 9 years. You will continue to be. You have said your piece. You will not say it twice." Lavinia Brace had taken her basket and left. On Sunday, at the chapel, Beatrice Vale had sat in the second pew on the women's side at Iola Pell's invitation. She had worn the dove-gray traveling dress and the cream shawl, both clean. She had been looked at, and she had not let her face do anything, and at the end of the service she had stood at the steps of the chapel and shaken the hand of the deacon, who had been Asa Corn's older brother, and who had said, "Miss Vale," in a voice that left no doubt about the matter. On Thursday, Iola Pell put her trunks on the buggy seat behind her and drove her out the west road 8 miles to Asa Corn's section. The road went out through the bleached pale tan flats and the dry sage and chamiza, and the cottonwoods at the small creek they crossed had just begun to gold at the tips. The section was a plain, low pine plank house with a small porch, a barn, a fenced corral with 2 horses in it, and a kitchen garden along the south wall that had been kept up, but not lately. Asa Corn was at the porch step when the buggy came up. He helped Eola Pell down. He helped Beatrice Vale down. He took the trunks down without being told and set them on the porch. "Welcome," he said. "Thank you. The back room is to the left of the kitchen. There is a chest in it. The supper bell is at 6. Breakfast is at 5:30. The kitchen is yours through the harvest. Past that we will see. There's a pump at the back. The cottonwoods at the creek can be heard from the kitchen window in a wind. The corral is mine. I will not be in your way in the kitchen, and I will not have you in mine at the corral. We will eat together. That is all of it." Eola Pell looked at him. "Asa," he looked at her. "Asa, I have known you 15 years. You have just delivered the longest speech I have heard you give since your father's funeral. You will say it less from here forward. She will know what you mean." Asa Corn nodded once. Eola Pell got back into the buggy. She did not stay for supper. That was the second beginning. Beatrice kept his kitchen through the harvest. She put up the early apples on a Tuesday in late August. She mended the curtains over the kitchen window on a Wednesday because they had been hanging on 3 threads. She made bread on Thursdays and Sundays. She washed his shirts at the pump at the back on Mondays, and she hung them on the line at the side of the house in the warm dust, and she did not let him see her hands shake the first Monday morning when she had stood at the pump in his yard and looked at the cottonwoods at the small creek and the bleached pale tan flats beyond, and understood, in a way she had not understood the day on the platform, that she was 130 miles from the kitchen in St. Louis she had grown up in. He set a chair for her at the kitchen table at the near end on the left at supper, and he sat across from her at the near end on the right, and her chair did not move for the first 3 weeks. By the 4th week, his cup of coffee had moved, without comment from either of them, from the far end of the table to the near end on his side. By the 5th week, he had taken his hat off the wall peg by the back door at the threshold without being told, and had hung it on the peg next to her shawl, which she had hung there on the second Monday because there was no other peg. The hat moved 1 peg closer to the shawl over the course of the harvest weeks, the way that pattern moved in that country without anyone naming it. Crispin Halloran came back on a Saturday in September. He came up the west road in a hired buggy from the crossroads, alone, in a coat that had not been brushed in a long time and a hat that had been bought new in the time he had been gone. Asa Corn was in the corral. Beatrice was on the porch step shelling beans into a bowl. The dog, the next section over, started barking the way the dog, the next section over, barked at a wheel it did not know. Halloran got out of the hired buggy at the gate. He took the new hat off. He came up the path with the smile of a man who had a prepared speech and had been rehearsing it in the buggy. "Beatrice," he said at the porch step. She did not stand up. She set the bowl on the porch beside her. "Mr. Halloran." He looked at the house. He looked at the corral. He looked at Asa Corn, who had come around the corner of the barn and was now standing at the corner of the corral with his hands resting easy on the top rail. "I have come a long way to find you," Halloran said. "You did not come a long way. You came 130 miles east on the train and a half-day west by buggy. I came that way, too. I came 5 weeks before you." He did not have a ready answer for that. "Beatrice, I owe you an explanation. You owe me $4 in train fare and a steamer ticket to a town I did not know existed 2 months ago and a wedding I did not have. You owe me none of it now. The boarding house was paid by Mr. Corn. The trip out was paid by my own coin. The wedding was your business, and I would not have it now if you had brought it on a plate. You have nothing to explain to me. I had to leave. I had debts. You had debts. You also had a woman on the 1140 who was coming 130 miles to a kitchen you had told her you would have ready. The debts and the woman were not the same problem. You ran from the one. You should have written to the other. You did not. Mr. Corn told me on the platform that you had not. I have been in this country 2 months and 3 weeks. I have not had a letter from you in that time. You have only come now because you have heard, by whatever route a man like you hears these things, that I have not gone east again. You are wondering whether there is anything left at this section for you to claim. There is not. Crispin Halloran looked at her a long moment. He set the new hat back on his head. Beatrice, step inside the buggy with me. I will take you to the crossroads, and we will speak this over. I will not step into your buggy. He looked at Asa Corn at the corral. Corn. Asa Corn did not move. Halloran, Miss Vale has told you what she has told you. I have nothing to say to it. The buggy you came in is hired. The boy who drove it is at the gate. You will get back into the buggy, and the boy will drive you to the crossroads, and you will get on the train east, and you will not come back up this road. If you come back up this road, I will not meet you with a rifle. I will not meet you with my voice. I will meet you with the deputy in town, who is my brother's son, and you will pay the freight house and the dry goods what you owe them before you take another train anywhere. That is what I have to say. That is all I have to say. The corner of his mouth did not move. Halloran stood at the porch step. He looked at Beatrice. He looked at Asa. The boy at the gate with the buggy was watching with the dignified attention of a hired boy who had been told he would be paid $2 to drive a man down a road, and not 3. Halloran did not get back into the buggy yet. He said, "Beatrice, one more time," and Beatrice did not look up. Halloran got back into the buggy. The boy drove him down the west road. The dust at the gate settled slow. Asa Corn did not move from the corral until the dust was gone. Beatrice picked the bowl of beans back up. She did not let her hands fidget. She finished the row. Asa came up the path. He stood at the porch step. "That was hard," he said. It was. He took his hat off. He looked at her hands. "The deputy is your brother's son." "He is." "You did not need a rifle. I've not needed one in 9 years. I'm not starting now." He sat down on the porch step beside her, 1 step lower than her, with the bowl of beans between them. He picked up a bean. He shelled it. He did not look at her. "I have not asked you what I would like to ask you," he said. "I have been thinking on it. I have been thinking on it since Mrs. Pell brought the buggy up the lane on the first Thursday. I have not asked because the harvest is the harvest, and the back room is the back room, and I would not have you decide a thing under either roof until you had decided you wanted to. I am asking now because Halloran was here, and Halloran is gone, and I would not have his being here be the thing that asked the question for me." She set the bowl on the step. She looked at her hands. "What is the question, Asa?" "Will you marry me?" he said. "I'm asking it plain. I'm asking it without a paper, and without a witness, and without a ring, because I do not have a ring yet, and I would not bring you one I did not have. I am asking it on this porch, with the cottonwoods at the creek you can hear from your kitchen window in a wind, and the corral that has been mine and which I am asking you to make ours, and the back room that has been the back room, and which I'm asking you to make a room you no longer use except for storing what is yours from your trunks. I am asking what you will let me do." Beatrice Vale did not let her hands fidget. She looked at the path where the buggy of the man she had come to marry 2 months and 3 weeks before had just turned out at the gate. And she looked at the corral and the porch and the cottonwoods at the small creek that she had heard from her kitchen window for 9 weeks of Wednesdays, and she thought about Eola Pell saying, "She will know what you mean," and she thought about Lavinia Brace and the Sunday at the chapel and the deacon on the steps, and she thought about the platform at the noon hour and the freight slip in his hand, and the question he had asked her on the platform, which had been the same question, only said smaller because he had not had the standing yet to ask it any larger. "I will let you do it," she said. She did not say more than that. He did not ask her to. He picked up another bean. He shelled it. He set it in the bowl. He stood up. He took her hand once, briefly, at the wrist, the way a man takes the hand of a person he has been waiting to take the hand of for 9 weeks of Wednesdays without permission, and he let it go. He went back to the corral. She finished the row. They were married at the small chapel at the crossroads on a clear, cool afternoon in late October, with the cottonwoods at the lane all the way gold. Eola Pell stood up with her. Asa's brother the deacon performed the service. Lavinia Brace sat in the third pew and bowed her head once at the end. The ring Asa Corn had ridden into the next county to buy was a plain band of gold the right size, because Eola Pell had measured Beatrice's finger with a length of string on the second Monday at the boarding house, and Asa Corn had ridden into the next county on a Saturday in mid-September with the length of string folded into his hat band. She kept his kitchen for 41 more years. The back room went back to being a back room. The kitchen window looked out at the cottonwoods at the small creek every morning of those 41 years. The hat on the peg by the back door hung beside her shawl until both of them were gone. This was the story of Beatrice and Asa, the abandoned bride on the platform and the rancher who came up for freight and asked her one short question on a hot afternoon. Tell me in the comments if you enjoyed this one. We are always glad you came to listen.